Here we are with yet another FPL video. This time it's going to be the best free hit team for Gameweek 24, but most of you will be looking to use that free hit in a double game week like 26 perhaps, or 27, which will be a blank for the Carabao Cup finalists and their respective opponents like Arsenal. So let's get straight into the video. In goal we have Hugo Lloris. Now ignore Ben Foster, he's just pure bench fodder, and we're focusing on the main goalkeeper in this free hit team in Hugo Lloris. You could maybe go for someone like David De Gea, but I trust Spurs more for the clean sheet this time round, facing Southampton rather than Burnley away. And yeah, both fixtures are quite easy on paper, but at the same time I trust Spurs' defence more, so I would go for Hugo Lloris. You could also cover Spurs with Davis or Dyer, as I talked about also in my recent videos, like the best players for Game Week 26 and 25, those doubles, but I would go for Hugo Lloris and keep it simple. He is a bit expensive, so if you can't afford him, go for someone cheaper like Ramsdale or De Gea, but I think if you can afford it on a free hit, I would go for Hugo Lloris. Another video and another time that we've included both Trent and Cancelo, so let's just skip them. We already know why they're in here. The Leicester fixture isn't that great for Liverpool, and they have struggled to them even this season, but I still think it's worth including Trent. You know, he can just produce a haul in any single game. Now we've got Laporte here, and we're doubling up on City. You could do the same with Liverpool with Robertson, but I decided to go with Laporte because of that fixture against Brentford, and also because of just value. You know, I think you have to think about value and also how much money you have available. And with Robertson, it does make it more difficult to get the premiums that we're going to be talking about later. Now, completing this team, we've got Mitchell and Dalot. They're just going to be on the bench, if we're being honest. But you could arguably start Dalot. You know, he is facing Burnley away, and he does have sometimes some bonus points in him. But the main three you want to start are Laporte, Cancelo, and Trent. And it's not really the best looking defence of any free hit that you're going to have this season, because, you know, you've got a double up in a team like City. They're facing Brentford at home, and also, you know, in Trent, who's facing Leicester. So it's not the greatest looking defence, but I still think it's fairly decent. And once again, you can go for Davis or Dyer, but we've already got Lloris, and there might need to be space for more Spurs players in midfield and attack. This midfield looks fairly different compared to the ones that I always talk about in these wildcard videos or even free hits. So we've got Riyad Mahrez in here. He is going to be back now from a long break. He's going to be facing Brentford at home. And arguably De Bruyne is the best midfielder from Manchester City at the moment. But if you can't afford him and you want space for other premiums elsewhere, then I will go for Mahrez to compensate on this free hit. He was very consistent and also hitting some very big returns before heading off to the African Cup of Nations with Algeria. Now we've also got Heung-min Son. He's got a great record against Southampton. He's now available for Game Week 24, so I think he's definitely worth considering, and even just for our normal teams on a wildcard or using free transfers. Conor Gallagher's facing Norwich, and Palace actually dismantled them the last time they faced each other, but Gallagher didn't feature in that game. I think he returned a late positive test for COVID, so he wasn't able to feature. And we also got Jarrod Bowen, who's got a great fixture here against Watford, so I think he's worth inclusion. Ramsey's there as pure bench fodder, so once again you can go for maybe De Bruyne. I don't think Salah will quite make this game. He could, but he has reached the African Cup of Nations final against Senegal, so I wouldn't really count on those players to really feature. There's also Jota, who is fairly cheap, and you could go for him for around 8 million maybe instead of Mahrez, but I would probably go for the Algerian instead. And this midfield's looking pretty decent. It's nothing spectacular, but you also want to target the fixtures, and I think these are probably the best ones you can get. There's also maybe Rafinha or Coutinho. That could be, you know, some big returns in that game, but I think these four are probably the best ones in Game Week 24. To complete this team, we've got Harry Kane, Edouard, and Antonio. Now, let me know what you think and what you would change with this team. Some of you might argue that you'd go for Bruno Fernandes or Ronaldo instead of Kane, and I understand that. The same goes for Heung-min Son. I would probably go for this double up though in Spurs. They are facing Southampton, and Kane and Son have done extreme damage against these opponents in the past. Now, you can maybe diversify a bit and go for Bruno Fernandes, and I understand it, but I probably would go for these two instead. Edouard, he did very well the last time he faced Norwich. He's been very consistent recently, and I think he is right now the best Palace option, especially with Gallagher not being able to feature against Chelsea in their double in Game Week 26. Then we've got Mikel Antonio, who's facing Watford, who are very poor right now. What I would maybe be a bit cautious about is the managerial bounce for Watford, and that could actually cause some problems for West Ham, so let's keep an eye on that. But I still think Bowen and Antonio facing one of the worst defences in the league. They haven't kept a clean sheet this season, Watford. You know, I think this double up could be very good and profitable for any of these owners. And Edouard, Kane and Antonio, that's looking like a very solid front line. Maybe the midfield or defence doesn't look that great, and I probably concede that, but I still think this is a solid team, and if you were to free hit this week, this is one of the best, if not the best drafts you can make. In terms of funds, this team would cost 104.6 million. So I myself have 105.3, which isn't that much. I've got 0.7 million left over. So you can make some alterations with a few of these players and you'll be completely fine. But I'm mainly playing the fixtures here. And in terms of Lloris and De Gea, I actually originally had De Gea, but I trust Spurs a little bit more defensively. That's why I went with the French international. And yeah, this is a pretty solid draft. You know, if I were free hitting, I'd be pretty confident in doing well with this draft. But I think if we're being honest, you want to be saving the free hit for game weeks 26, maybe 27, or game week 30, 33, etc. Some of these doubles and blanks, I don't think it's worth using it in game week 24. But for those of you who might need an idea of which players to get in who are going to do pretty well in game week 24, or you actually want to use the free hit in game week 24, you need to, then here we go. This is the draft. And now I'm going to show you an updated team selection before concluding this video. As discussed in my team selection video, I've got a lot of problems with my team, but I am looking to make a few alterations and improve and increase the number of Game Week 26 players who have a double in my team. So originally I only had 5. With these transfers, I would have 7. So Robertson and Edouard coming in for Marcos Alonso and also Calvert-Lewin, that would give me 7 players with a double game week in 26, and I'd also still have 2 in double game week 25. But with United, even though they weren't too bad against Middlesbrough, they should have won that game. Ronaldo isn't filling with me with confidence. I wish I had Bruno Fernandes instead, and then I could get rid of him for Salah, but it's not looking that good at the moment. And the rest of my squad, you know, there's some things that are good, you know, having Jota, potentially Foden, Cancelo, Trent, and even Bowen, but other areas like Dennis, Gray, you could even argue Livramento, Cucurella, it's not that great. But having a double up with Robertson and Trent is a bit of a differential. I also recommend Laporte a lot, and I'm still considering Laporte. But Robertson will give me a double game week play in 26. But then on the counter side, I also need to get rid of Jota for sure to get Salah back in. And also in game week 27, I would have 3 Liverpool players who blank, and also Aaron Ramsdale because of the Carabao Cup final. So I need to think about these things, but I think Edouard and Robertson coming in for a -4 hit for those 2 players I said, Marcos Alonso and also Calvert-Lewin, does look pretty decent. Let me know what you think. And in terms of the captaincy, I would be willing to shift it around a little bit. I would consider Jarrod Bowen as well, or even possibly Edouard. Originally I had Cancelo as my captain, but I also said I'm open to other ideas. So let me know what you think of all of this down in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed this video, smash the like button and subscribe if you're new around here. Thank you for all the subscribers and all the support, all the channel members. And we're so close to 10,000 subscribers, so any sort of support would be massively appreciated. Good luck with the rest of Game Week 23 and also Game Week 24. It should be very interesting. And before you know it, there's going to be a deadline stream on Tuesday talking about these last minute dilemmas that we're all going to have. I'll probably be locking in my transfers fairly soon actually, but I want to wait for the FA Cup games to finish. I don't want to put myself in a position where, you know, I'm in even more of a predicament than I already was anyway. I need to sort out this team. I think I can do it. It's not too bad. It's not in need of a complete surgery, but quite a few parts need to be changed. So enjoy the football and take care, and I'll see you next time.